Hello, and welcome to Thrively's webinar series. Today, we're joined by CS for Success in partnership with Thrively. CS for Success has prepared a number of modules for teacher professional development, as well as student-facing projects and lessons that will help us align computer science and all of the other technology-rich environments in order to help students be prepared for their future. We hope you'll join us on this adventure.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Tuesday, oh my gosh, it's April, and we were just talking about how it snowed here in Colorado, and now it's 80. So I don't know if the rest of you guys who are all joining are feeling the same crazy weather situation, but welcome. We have an excellent topic today. And again, Julie and I have been talking about why school. And it boils down to we're preparing them for their future. I mean, bottom line, if anything else. And so this is an opportunity. I'd love for you guys to share where you're from, what brought you to the webinar today. I'm Jeanette Simonson with Thrively, and I used to be in STEM and computer science, CTE, and came to Thrively because really we do want to know what students' strengths and interests are. We want to take those and really move them along that career pipeline to prepare them for the job that they were meant to do, the impact that they were meant to create in the world. So I am so excited. If you guys would all who are joining us, please tell us where you're from, what role you play, something you're proud of, and maybe what brought you here today. And I am so excited to introduce my friend and someone who I consider an innovator, Julia Flores. Go ahead, you can take it away.
Hi, my name is Julia Flores, and I'll be one of your facilitators for today.
All right, there is our team.
There we are. So I am the one on the right. But there are two other avatars there. Abril Vela, who will be off screen, and Troy Williams, who couldn't make it today. And all three of us are co-founders and principal consultants at CS for Success. I started my education journey as a licensed accounting teacher in career and technical education here in Chicago. However, when I first started and showed up, first day of school, I was handed an IT and computer science schedule. And I thought for sure there was something wrong with the schedule, but as sure as day, my name was on it. And I turned around and I said, excuse me, ma'am, there is something wrong with the schedule. This is my name. However, my endorsement is in accounting, and there's IT and what is computer science. Obviously, I didn't have a background in either one, but she said there is no mistake. That is your schedule. That is what we need. And here are your keys and your attendance book. Good luck. And so my first year, I was teaching a subject that I had no background in. And so that was a very interesting year. So I was learning things right alongside with the students. And that was a lot of fun. So it can be done. And that was about 20 years ago, where there was fewer materials, and there are a lot more materials available to teachers who are making that switch from a different content area. So do not worry, there are more things out there. Troy Williams was the interim director and integration manager of the Office of Computer Science in Chicago Public Schools, which is also where I taught in Chicago Public Schools. His background was also, or was in IT, and he studied computer science in college. Abril Vela attended Chicago Public Schools, and she was actually a product of the Office of Computer Science's push for CS for All. So she actually went through the program that Troy Williams and the Chicago Public Schools put together. She went on to college to become a computer scientist, and ultimately went back to Chicago Public Schools to help the entire CS for All movement and graduate the first class. So we eventually got together and decided that we needed to help the rest of the nation. do the same thing that we did in Chicago Public Schools. So raise your hand if you studied computers in college. So there is a button down near the bottom. If you guys can just raise your hand if you majored in computers. Show of hands. All right. So even though some of you have not studied computers, we are all here using computers. So the path to computers may not always be a straight line, and yet we are all here. And I think we can all agree that there is going to be a healthy dose of computers in all of our students' futures. So I want us to bear in mind that that is likely going to be the case for our students.
Well, and Julia, I think we spoke earlier too, as we're thinking about computer science, and I'm sure a lot of you came today not thinking about computer science, but just technology and students' interests. Our students that we are teaching today are all digital natives. They don't know the world without technology. So, paradigm shift. I know we've been on it. I know we've talked about it. But again, going back to how can I prepare my students for success? How do we do that? We have a poll for you guys. I'm going to launch it right now. I want you to tell us, as you look at these questions, tell us whether or not you have any of these items. Just as I thought. 14 out of 14 with a smartphone, a computer, 16 out of 16, 19 out of, how are you logging in today, right? Doorbell camera, I can't live without because my doorbell doesn't work, so my phone goes off. That's thankful, right? All right. Thank you for participating in that. A robotic vacuum. If you don't have one, get one. My cat actually pressed the button and it went off. I now can assign duties to my cat. So, Julia, if you're seeing this, again, what we thought was true, many people have all of these items. I'm going to end the poll, but thank you for participating. And I'll share results.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Computer science is actually at the heart of every single one of these devices and applications. Computer science, and that's because computer science, or the study of computers, is the study of not just the hardware, right, or the components that go into the computer, but also the applications. So if we think about just a simple doorbell that we had before that was not connected to the internet, that was just a mechanical device that we used to push, right? But as soon as it became an electronic device that is now connected to the internet with, now that it's paired to the camera, now that is a computer that is transmitting information through the air and that is connected to the, to a camera. Now that thing is a computer, right? The robotic vacuum, same situation. Before it was, a machine. Now it's connected to the electricity, and now it is transmitting information in the air. That thing is a computer, or has a computer on it. Smartphone, same situation. It's an electronic device that is transmitting information back and forth. It is now a computer. Social media apps are applications. Computer, obviously is a computer. All of these things now need people that are going to service them. So there are now jobs, technicians, there are engineers that are creating them. Like, all of these things are things that are here now. It's not even an emerging technology anymore. This is, things that are here now. But because of these things, now there are jobs that are being created, things that are, coming in the near future, and things that are being developed, in the far future, that are building off of the things that are here now. So now we wonder, how can we prepare students for success? We don't know what's coming in the very, very far future, right? We have a grasp of what's here now. Maybe we don't know what's coming around the bend. So what do we do, right? So here are some things that we have, right? Are there things that are on here right now that you all are doing? Let us know in the chat. Like, is there anything here that you are currently doing in your classroom? And we'll give you a few minutes to let us know. And absolutely, Debbie, sometimes they definitely know more than we do.
And I want to make a point too. It's been my greatest pleasure to be on this journey, bringing a computer science background similar to Julia, where I taught math and language arts and got thrust into a position to support students. But when we're thinking about preparing students for their future, Thrively was such a perfect combination because I had to know what students already knew. I had to understand what they were curious about. I needed to create exposure opportunities for them to get hooked and go, whoa, that's cool. I want to know more about that, right? We do that with our content areas all the time. And then I found this really nice intersection to elevating the understanding of my content areas that I was trained in to, then create more opportunities for them. So Debbie shares career day. Yeah. Exposure, because when I interviewed students and said, who wants to become a computer scientist? When I was in Chicago public schools, guess what happened? 0. I thought, wait a minute, that's not the curve I'm looking for. That's not the average. Industry chats and student created podcasts about their interests. That is, Holly, I might steal that one. That's fantastic. Yes, Danielle, Scratch, Microbits, Career Week, security engineers, exposure, exploration. You can't start too early, can you, Julia? Right? Bring parents
You
in.
cannot.
Yeah.
Yes. So I went to, it was AP language. I went to an AP language PLC meeting. It was part of a PLC information gathering thing that I went out on. I went to all of the AP PLCs, right? I just wanted to see what was going on. And one of the things that they were doing were podcasts with students. And I thought that was brilliant, how they were trying to bring in these technologies, because that is what's, attracting the students. That's what engages them. And that is exactly what I thought, Holly. Like, wow, if we could have them interviewing these industry professionals in the business class, right? Because that's, my brain would always go back, like, if we could just have them interviewing industry professionals, right, to get to know what actually happens a day in the life of someone. Like, we could get them so much closer to seeing themselves in these jobs and seeing what actually happens in there and getting them career exposure. So that is amazing. Yeah. And I always think about these field trips and you just breaking down the walls and getting them actually in to see what happens. So that is brilliant. And getting the parents involved, that is, that's a great idea. So if you have coding nights to bring the community and to bring parents in, I think if you have that opportunity, that's always a good use of time to get the parents involved, because especially like in the Latino communities, parents don't always know what coding is. So if you can get them to come in and have like an atole and conchas night, or you give them like a Mexican bread, some hot chocolate, and have them coding, like that would be great. Although, hot chocolate and keyboarding and keyboards might not be the best thing, but I mean, that's something.
So Julia, we always get these questions from educators, and maybe many of you have noticed may teach different subject areas and are, specific. So I'm curious, why computer science? Why computer science integration? Can any content area drive this?
Oh my goodness, yes. So we've seen there are several curricula that are out there that are actually designed to have a fusion. So there are math and computer science, there's science and computer science. There's quite a few things that are already out there designed to do that integration. But the value in doing that is just, it's huge. There are many colleges that are also doing these fusions, but let's talk some data to back up why we're saying there's value, right? 67% of all jobs in STEM are in computing. There are currently upwards of 700,000 job openings in computing across every industry, not just computer science, right? In every state. So we do not have enough qualified candidates in the labor market to fill these jobs. That means that people that meet the qualifications have their pick of jobs. More fascinating still is that some of these jobs do not require college degrees. So some of these jobs can be taken by high school graduates with experience in, let's say, web development, or high school students that attain an industry certification. This is a huge opportunity for all of our students, not just the ones that are going to college. And this isn't something or just something happening in the STEM field, it's across the board. In an effort to prepare college graduates to use computing in their selected careers, many colleges are offering computer science fusion majors. So you can see new majors springing up in various colleges and universities offering things like music plus computer science and archaeology plus computer science. It's important to note that computer science major graduates can earn 40% above the average starting salary in their college graduate peers. It's also important to note that many of the people that are pursuing that visa, the Genius visa, are getting it because they have a computer science background. So because we don't have enough students getting the computer science degree here filling these jobs, we have to bring in students from other countries to fill these jobs.
Yeah, we have Debbie saying, wow. And I think that number keeps growing. Again, as we see AI and biotech and everything else increasing, there's just not an industry that computer science doesn't have an influence on, doesn't move their processes. I mean, think about an industry. Agriculture. I was in shock to learn how, what? So when we are preparing our students to read, to do math, to write, to do all of the things that we do elementary school, middle school, and beyond, we would be remiss to not have at least an exposure to this. Would you agree, as teachers of any content area? I mean, because I know when I used to give PDs, I'd say computer science PD, they'd run, and it's not for me, right? But now the curiosity has kicked in, and I'm so glad all of you are here, because as we prepare our students for the world that they're going to have to work in, they cannot enter into it without knowing how many of these systems work. So, I mean, we just threw down a couple of them when we were preparing this, but lots of things here. Cybersecurity becoming huge.
Absolutely. And a lot of the times we think computer science is it's overwhelming, it's so huge, or a lot of times we don't know what computer science is and we conflate it with computer literacy or other things. Computer science is actually a really broad topic that encompasses a lot of things. So you'll see AI, artificial intelligence is in here, the Internet of Things is in there, cybersecurity, networking, data analytics is in there, robotics, which is a fusion of engineering and programming. Machine learning is in there, biotechnologies is in there, wearables, which, you know, how many of us don't have a wearable these days? Engineering too, because some of it has programming, right? Marketing and social media, because, you know, the programming component, there's almost everything these days has some programming component in it, right? My washer machine has a computer component in it. It texts me and tells me, hey, come get your laundry out of here unless you want it to stink. You know, there's so many things these days. Everything is pretty much touched by a computer at some point, from beginning to the end of the cycle, you know, at some point. So there is so much value.
One of our friends here, and it doesn't have his first name, but is it Balcam, says there's a problem with 4-year computer science degrees because when they're done after 4 years of tech has been outdated from what they've learned. And that's why, you know, jumping in here to talk about the foundation of where we've been. I mean, we talk about that with our history of our country, right? Many of the laws are outdated and things like that, but we still understand where we've been and how we've gotten to where we are, so that we can understand what our role is as people developing in this, you know. And again, you all are the people who are integrating. You know your students, you know your staff, but what does computer science look like integrated with educators? And again, going back to Thrively's point, students are interested in it. They're interested in, I mean, constantly. I can't pry it out of their hands, right? Always wanting to be on a computer. So, you know, some of these points here, and I know we only have, Julia, about 10 minutes, so I want to kind of get straight into the modules. Yeah, I know it goes fast, doesn't it? But I want you all to look at a couple of these things. Understanding standards and alignment. Now, those will change, but they are the foundation. And so what CS for Success has provided for us is an opportunity to have access to this. And also think about those engagement strategies that can connect to your content areas for your students, so that they can start to think about, that sounds like an interesting career pathway. I might want to be a part of that work-based learning environment. So I want Julia to tell us a little bit about, take, you know, a couple of minutes to tell us about the modules you've created, and then we'll share how Thrively partners up with that.
So, yes. Oh no, I went one too far. So, at CS for Success, we aim to create a more equitable, accessible, and inclusive landscape for computer science education. We envision a world in which all students have the opportunity to pursue introductory to advanced level coursework, to partake in hands-on skill training, and to understand the real-world applications of their classroom experiences. To do this, we focus on working with districts, schools, and educational organizations like Thrively to develop programs that provide high-quality CS experiences for all students. And we are so excited to be here. And thank you, Jeanette, for having us today. That's who we are.
Yeah, and here's the part. So a lot of you who come to Thrively, you got these webinar invitations, and you're thinking, yeah, I use it with my students. Did you know there's also educator, administrator, and coaching PD modules that have been provided? The experts at CS for Success have developed these with Thrively. So I don't know if you want to touch on these 4 modules real quickly, Julia.
Absolutely. So as an educator, we really want to make sure that we understand what computer science is, and that we want to get comfortable with being kind of uncomfortable, right? We're not going to become masters overnight, but we want to make a plan to become masters of the content that we're going to teach, right? So the very first one that you see there is, what is CS? So we're going to understand what computer science, the topics are, what we're going to cover in the content that we plan to teach. So if that's an intro level, or if that's an intermediate level, or if that's advanced. So we're going to identify what it is that we're going to teach. And then in Mastering CS, we're going to actually lay it all out. This is where we are. This is what we plan to cover, how we plan to cover it, and when we plan to cover it. Unpacking computer science standards, we're going to jump in and look at the standards and say, okay, what exactly do they mean by, you know, covering hardware and software? What are the activities that I'm actually expected to cover with this particular standard, and making a plan complete with activities. Equity, inclusion, and belonging, we cover what is the problem in the computer science industry, and how can I be a part of the solution? How can I help students see themselves in the industry and actually feel supported through education and potentially in joining the industry, because that is a really big problem. It is a very homogeneous industry.
And I
But
think
yeah,
so
that's
much of what, obviously I've gone through these modules. Anybody who does project-based learning or problem-based learning, these modules are for you. Even though they have computer science on them, they help you think through, how do you integrate, whether it's a LED light and some simple kind of programming things, or it's a full-blown robotics unit. You can integrate it into literacy and history and all of those really important topics that you're already covering. So some really great ideas in here. And for you administrators who are out there, again, PD hours and things like that, it's a hybrid. They do it, right there in the project interface. So quickly, and Julia, I just want to keep us on time, but these are amazing. Super excited about these.
I'm so sad that we don't have time.
We'll stay 5 minutes
the beautiful
late.
thing, the beautiful thing is that these are at your own pace. So all of these are at your own pace. So from what we've learned at Chicago Public Schools, working with administrators, working with teachers with the last 4, these are the issues that had popped up. So how do I select a course, given who I have in the building, what their endorsements are, the courses that I currently have? These are the sessions or the projects that we've put together. So the first one is exactly that. Based on who I have in the building, based on the interest that I have with the students, like how do I go about selecting the course or the courses that we're going to put together for the first year or the next 5 years, launching CS programs, all of the issues that come up. How do I put together my vision for a program? What are my short-term goals? What are my long-term goals? And that really goes to, like, what are the logical steps? Like, if I want to build a robotics course, but I have no budget to begin with, but I plan to write for all of these grants, and so long-term I plan to be here, like, how can I start and how can I layer in all of these things to eventually have a robust robotics program? So, like, can I layer in after school programs? And then, where do I go from there? So that's a really good session, launching programs. Identifying funds. So, who can I hit up for money? Do I go to industry? Do I go for grants? Do I do this? Do I do that? And how do I do it? There's a whole bunch of tips and tricks that are in that session that are very valuable from all of the experience that we've had from Troy, who was the interim director at the Office of Computer Science at Chicago Public Schools, from Abril. They have plenty of experience of hitting people up for money. And establishing partnerships too, because that's a big deal in Chicago Public Schools. You have to make partnerships, with the big and heavy hitters in order to get, things to run a program, like computers and, the robots and everything to make things run. Because I don't know if people know, but when the Office of Computer Science started in Chicago, they had a zero budget. So they had to go and get the money. So they had to establish partnerships. So that's
Thank you to
another,
the CME group, by the way. Let's shout out to them, right?
Yes.
$1 million funder
Yes.
for the first. And you're right. And then they bring all that expertise and that mentorship that comes with it, which I know maybe some of you are really looking for opportunities. I'm going to, for time purposes, just kind of make sure you guys know we have in here opportunities for modules for PD for coaches. And some of it is connected right to what you're already doing with pedagogy for culturally responsive computing, inquiry-based instruction. But this is connecting to, again, moving the needle forward with future-oriented, technology-driven computer science concepts, right? So I think that's, in closing, is there anything, I know we're going to jump into Thrively for just a couple of minutes, and sorry for everyone, we started a few minutes late. We had so much to say, but stay with us if you can. And if not, watch the rest of the recording. But
Jeanette, we do have a question from the audience. They've had their hand raised for a little bit.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Allowed to talk. There we go. I see you, Heidi. Go ahead. Let's see if Heidi's still. Let's see, talking is permitted. If you do want to go ahead and either put the question in the chat, or if you want to unmute, you are welcome to, Heidi. Thank you, Abril, for catching that. Wonderful. I want to kind of backtrack for just a second, because all of you who've come from Thrively are like, wait a minute, so how do I connect this, right? These are all the data points we get. We get this discovering our strengths and exploring our interests and determining what I think I want to be in the future. If you see computer science is only one person, you know you have an exposure issue. Let's expose them a little bit more. Maybe that number will pop up, right? Or any other industry that you think they haven't been exposed to. You can start to integrate that, because they just might find their next passion and the thing that's going to engage them. But, you know, many children are not aware of the strengths that they possess. So we have to tap into this idea that strengths and then my future pathways are connected, right? And connect those families and friends. So with the personality types, we have, you know, here Anna Escalante comes in, oh, you'd make a great airline pilot or computer programmer or biochemist. She's like, wait a minute, I never thought about those things before. So Thrively has this access to these surveys, and then we can connect to the career playlists. So career pathways playlist, we have all of these exposure opportunities that are created for you. So if you're a language arts teacher and you're getting thrown into an advisory period, or you just want to, you know, take a book that you were reading and you want to showcase the healthcare sector because the main character is in that field, that's a great connection right there for character development and understanding what they're going through. And suddenly they're like, wait, that's interesting. Parent engagement, invite the parents. Every student who gets a beautiful profile, 5 strengths, you can invite the parent. This is my family. Welcome to Thrively. Here's how amazing your child is. And now I can be involved in their learning. And of course, then I can jump in and I can learn a little bit more. I'm not a computer systems analyst. I'm a teacher. Wait, okay, I can watch these videos with my kids. And I can start to understand, oh, that's curious. You want to be, you know, you want to go into that. Let's look for camps. Let's do some things, extracurricular ideas. So through the modules that CS for Success has created, we can now bring Thrively in and all the information we have. We as educators can learn a little bit more to ask the appropriate questions and to push them. And then, of course, right here, we can connect them. You guys have a little prequel, I guess, on what you're creating. I don't know if Abril or Julia you want to share, but the last bullet point here talks a little bit about what you guys are working on to prepare to give educators.
That is coming. That's the preview.
It's coming. It's coming. That's all we can tell you. But industry partners are so willing to work with educators to build out work-based learning. And so stay tuned. We will have a webinar on it when we're ready to launch. But for those of you educators who are saying, okay, great, I'm going to dive into these PD modules. I'm going to learn a little bit more about how I can support my students once they show that they're interested in this. Don't worry, we're going to provide for you student-facing product and stuff that will help you really get them set up for the companies that are hiring. So how can Thrively help? You already know we do strengths assessments, interest profilers, playlists and projects, inviting parents. So I want you, just to end it, I'm going to start off with a poll. What can you do tomorrow, next week? It's the end of the year, perfect time to start exploring strengths, start exploring interests, start exploring the things. So let's see what you guys think you could do first to get students on this journey that you see in front of you. Yeah, definitely the strengths assessment and interest profiler. I know it might be a little late for a parent engagement night, but you can start doing the planning and the thinking for the fall. Exposure. I love a lot of you, 11 out of 14 have sent exposure to career pathways. I think some people want some work-based learning, so you guys keep working on that. We'll take just a few more. I promise we will only go 5 minutes over and we'll give you some. Yeah, exposure. That seems to be the number one. I'm going to end the poll and share it with you. So here's seems like exposure to career pathways. kind of have to know what those career pathways are. If you've only been a teacher, I mean, I've only been in like 2 other industries before, so I don't know what I'm necessarily preparing my students for. So go on the journey with them, right? Absolutely. This is interesting. All right, you guys got to get some work-based learning stuff done. Yeah, strengths and interest profiler, though, really gets you started on that journey, right? So thank you again, Julia, Abril, the whole team at CS for Success, your expertise, your own journey, you're bringing that back to school systems. And we're so proud to be partnering with you and to providing these resources for our administrators and our educators. So thank you for all the hard work you've put out there. If anybody out there needs more information, you've said, yes, this is what our district needs, please reach out to myself at Jeanette@thrively.com or info@cs4success.com. Well, thank you to all of you for all you're doing. And I wish you the best of luck in getting through the rest of the year. For some of you, it's weeks away, months away. You make a difference in the lives of students every day when we know their strengths, when we know where they're going, and we hear them. There is a tremendous amount of good that we can do in the world. So thank you for being that catalyst, and thank you for being here today. We will see you all out there, and reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much.